Okay, welcome back to the channel, or welcome to the channel if it's your first time. Today we're tackling how to get more gym members. Now this will also apply to coaching businesses in general, but I want to break down in simple terms how to get more gym members. Not only that, how to audit why you're not getting gym members or you're not getting enough gym members. Please go into this video with a very open mind and the fact that the advice is pretty basic, but it's the advice that we use, or it's the framework that we use to advise our clients in our gyms, because it's really so simple. There's 6 steps to it. I need you to identify the steps that are the bottleneck for you right now, and just go and fix it. That is business 101. You're about to find out. Get a pen, notepad, enjoy. And as always, if you're liking the stuff, make sure to like and subscribe, comment. It means the world to me. Enjoy. Okay, so hopefully you can see it. Some dodgy lighting happening here. But number one, really simply, is awareness. You're probably sick to the back teeth of people telling you about awareness, but it's true. The big question here is, do people even know you exist? That's the question. Listen, if you're struggling to grow your gym or even any fitness business, you have to sit with this question for a second. Now you might answer, well, of course they do. I've got 400 members, I've got 60 groups coaching clients. But the fact of the matter is, if you want to keep growing, you need more people to know that you exist. So the question then becomes, do people even know you exist? How many people know that we exist? And a way to do that is look at your addressable market in the city and stuff like that. But you have to sit on this question for a little bit and just ask yourself, do people even know you exist? Honestly, I can give you 100 examples where this is the case, even right through to, personal training, for example. I was taking personal training classes. There was this regular girl who used to always come to it. And one day she just said at the end of the class to me, Chris, do you know anyone that does personal training? And I'm like, I am right here. And it just reminded me that people just don't know what you offer. So you have to remind them. We had a gym owner in Nottingham, been there 11 years. We started running ads for him. He got a few people show up and they actually says, yeah, we've never heard of you. And they've been working there for years. He's been in that location for 11 years, literally round the corner, and they didn't even know he existed. So that's the big idea here. You need to figure out ways to get people to know you exist. By the way, this whole video is like really getting away the emotions of running a business and just asking simple questions, okay? The next question we want to ask is relevancy. Really simple. When we think of relevancy, we need people to ask themselves, do they, the people, believe this is for them? So they ask themselves that question. Do people believe this is for them? And do they believe that it's for people like them? So you have to, if you manage to get a ton of eyeballs, then your next question has to be, who's it for? And who's our content aimed towards to make it relevant so that individual can turn around and say, yeah, that's exactly for me. If you think of your pure gyms and your independent gyms, and then you think of your small businesses, small group PT businesses, Pure Gym has in budget gyms, right? If we put them here, people associate themselves with this. They literally say to themselves, is that budget gym for me? And they say yes or no. Whereas if you look at like David Lloyd, for example, people associate with that, but also people are drawn away from that, like pure gyms and budget gyms. Why? Because they know what it's all about. There's relevancy, there's context. If you have someone who wants to go on a Tuesday afternoon and sit in a sauna and go on do a fancy class in David Lloyd, go and sit in the sauna and the swimming pool, and then go and have lunch with a laptop out. They know where to go for that because there's relevancy. And David Lloyd have made it very clear by their price structure, by their advertising, to make people believe it's for them. So you have to ask yourself that question. And every time I speak to gym owners who are struggling to go to the gym, I'm like, what makes it different? And they don't know what to say. And the reality is, because of that, there's no relevancy to the market. The next thing we talk about here is desire. So look at the desire of the market. And the next question here is, do they actually want what you're selling? Do they actually want what you're selling? So if we think of a funnel here and we take each section down, that's meant to be a funnel. Awareness is the very top, so that's the eyeballs. Relevancy is like, okay, you've got my attention, and then they look at the relevancy. This is going to end up a wee figurine. And then they look at the desire, what is the offer that's on display here? So they do the homework, they look at content from you, they look at, results or whatever, they look at members, and then they ask themselves, like, do they actually want what you're selling? And if they don't, they move out of this. Here's when they become a client, by the way. This is the part of the funnel where they become a client. And so you can see from these stages here what area you need to fix. And I'll round this up in a minute to make sure you leave with, something tactical off the back of watching this. So the next thing is trust. Like, the big question here is, do they believe you can deliver? So trust, do they believe that you can deliver on the promise that you've made at your awareness stage. And we see a lot of the time, it's like, you know, for example, Pure Gym, it's so cheap, but Pure Gym also pushes, in these budget gyms, they also push that there's cleanliness, 24/7 support, there'll be someone there if you press the buzzer. Quite often they fall short on that. But the trust factor for your fitness business and your gym, how can you make people believe that you can deliver on the promise? And you know, when we think of offers for awareness, whether it's a 30-day live it or leave it, challenges and all these types of things, you need to think about that all the way through. You've got their attention, you've made it relevant for people like them, you've made them want it. Now how can you make them trust that you're right to take their money and to get them on board? Next is number 5, which is accessibility. And there's loads of things when it comes to accessibility, but really the question is it easy to join? How easy is it to join your service? Honestly, we've done a lot of mystery shopping with our clients, and it's so hard to join their program or their gym, like, because the way they've set it up and it's complicated. So you get their attention, make them aware that it's relevant by showing them case studies and all these types of things. You give them a great offer that makes them, you know, it's low-hanging fruit, they can get into it. You build trust, and then you ruin it at the end with accessibility. It's just really difficult to join your service. All these links to click on, a big massive form to fill out, and so you make it so hard. And one of the things that these big gyms do, like Pure Gym and things like that, they make you sign up on the dot. You're a member before you know it. And some small businesses are just not adapting to this. Then we move on to number 6, which I'll put up here. This is something that I harp on about all the time, is differentiation. Really simple. How are you different from everybody else who's trying to sell the same stuff? How are you different from people who want to go and get fit? Doesn't matter if it's a budget gym or you're off on a £200-300 per month small group service. You have to think about how you're different from all of them. And when I speak to gym owners, they always want help with this, when in reality, all of it's struggling. So I want you to think about this, and I want you to remove any bias. I want you to not look at it through emotion. I want you to also not think about all the stuff you've done in the past for this, because it's in the past. And when I think about that personal training client I told you about, who was just like, I didn't know you'd done PT, I thought you just done classes. By that point, I was up at like 25 hours of peak personal training. But the takeaway from that was, like, people don't need educated, they need reminded. If I said at the end of every class, hey guys, thanks for the session and the class today, great effort, just to let you know, I've got a few spots open for personal training if anybody's interested. If I'd done that like 3 months before, because she was a regular, she would have went, actually Chris, I'm looking for personal training, or I would have been the first person in her mind that she would have thought about. So what that teaches you is, just because you've done some of this and nailed some of this in the past, it doesn't get any more complicated than this. This is it. This is the 6 stuff. So my finishing line with this is, like, take all 6, scrutinise it, get an outside point of view, get a consultant to talk to you about it, because it's almost always one of these or a few of these. Don't make business any more complicated. You need to get people to know you exist. You need to make sure they believe that the thing that you're selling is for them. You need to make them actually want the thing you're selling once they believe that it's relevant to them. You need to build trust so that they can go, yeah, I think they can deliver on the thing they promised me. You need accessibility. You need to make it easy to join and ensure that, you know, whenever they join, they're going to get that result. And then differentiation, you need to understand, how do you position your gym or business in a way that's different from other people. And that is it. That is how you get more members for your gym, for your coaching business. Hope you've enjoyed it. Speak to you soon.